In this part of the module, we want to talk about how your examiners are chosen. Within the Australian context, we have 3 examiners chosen. The first 2 are the actual examiners, and the third examiner is a backup examiner or a reserve examiner. It's actually the role of your supervisors to pick your examiners, but for the sake of integrity, they actually kept secret from you. This does not mean you do not have input into your examiners. In fact, part of what you need to do is put together a list of 5 or 6 examiners that you would prefer to mark your thesis and give these to your supervisor and discuss them with them. Why you think they're appropriate, why you think you would like them to mark your thesis. What's really important, however, is to listen to the advice of your supervisors. Your supervisors know who the best examiners are for your thesis. You may have some people in mind who you think may make really good examiners. They might be really high profile, they might be, say, an editor of a journal that you really like, but they may not be suitable for your actual thesis. They might have a slightly different methodological background, or they might not like the method that you use. So you need to listen to your supervisor when they say that person is not appropriate. In my own experience, I've seen wrong examiners chosen, which has actually led to quite a bad result for the student. So it's really important that the supervisors pick the right examiners.
So there are a lot of things you've got to think about when you're selecting examiners. You obviously don't do the final selection, that's for your supervisor. But in those discussions, there's a lot of things to think about. And I would say one of the most important ones from a pragmatic perspective is who are you actually citing? You know, who are the major scholars in your field whose work you're relying on their previous publications or maybe their theories, because they can be a great person to have examine your work. It can be pretty terrifying putting it to them, but they're also one of the best placed to give you a really good solid evaluation that'll potentially set you up for many years to come with the kind of feedback that they give you. And I suppose the flip side of that is think strategically, and if you're being really critical of a particular scholar or a particular, say, school of thought or a particular interpretive line that you know a particular scholar is identified with, you might not want to recommend them as a supervisor, as an examiner, sorry. There are some cases where it is either good or you sort of have no choice but to send your work to someone who you're being a little critical of, and good scholars will be respectful, but certainly be careful.
So my 2 tips for selecting examiners for your PhD thesis are firstly to think about the kind of people that you want to be in a conversation with your scholarship. And particularly if your thesis is across 1 or 2 disciplines, you might want to think about choosing an examiner from each of those disciplines to make sure that your work is examined by people who know the intricacies of each kind of knowledge claim that you're making. Conversely, one of the things to be careful in that is that you select somebody, an examiner, that you know is open to reading works across different disciplines. The reason I say that is because many disciplines have their own particular way of making knowledge claims, and the way that other disciplines make knowledge claims can seem quite foreign. And so you want to make sure when you select examiners from different disciplines for your PhD thesis that you select people who you know are open to reading diverse ways of discussing research.